Riley, we were hoping we were going to get a Louisville Clemson matchup opposite Duke UNC in the ACC tournament semifinals. We got that. A very fun matchup between two of the three best teams in the ACC. They were battling for position, and we're right there. If anything were to happen with Duke during the regular season, now one of them is going to get a shot to play for an ACC championship. They met one time during the regular season back on January 7th. Louisville won that game at the Yum Center by 10. Probably going to be a closer game this time around. I'm thinking, Riley, are you in the
Mhm.
same boat, or do you think that one team's able to control it like that again?
Yeah, I do remember at the time it felt like that was kind of Louisville punctuating their hot streak. Like, hey, you might have written us off, but we might be more of a factor than you think. And it's crazy. I think both these teams have grown and evolved and played a lot better ball since then. Even looking at Clemson, like that was before the emergence of Dylan Hunter, who they'll likely be without this game. For Louisville, that was still when Rain Smith was coming off the bench. He only had 3 points in that one, so
Mhm.
we'll see. Actually, I guess Rain Smith has he been coming off the bench all season? Am I sounding like a dummy? No, okay. I knew he's been starting. I knew I
Yeah.
wasn't making that up. But both those guys, some injury questions there to see, makes for some storylines to see which one is healthier here. You hit on this in our Louisville and Stanford recap. Without Rain, that really shows their lack of depth. And they only had 2 bench points in that win over Stanford, which I think is
Mhm.
not really what I think of with Pat Kelsey ball. You know he's going to go deep into his rotation, want to have a lot of bodies coming in and out, and that's something I think that could wear down, could appear like in this conference tournament setting where you're having to play back to backs. At the same time, Clemson without Dylan Hunter, they have some of those same questions. I mean, again, we mentioned this in our recap of Clemson and SMU, but they'll be leaning more on guys like Dell Jones, seeing if Chauncey Wiggins can find some of his swagger again. They might have to play Jake Heidbreder a little more than they want to. There's just a couple interesting storylines here in this one. It's two teams who have played really well for the past 2 months, but just coming in a little beat up and honestly coming off of performances that we thought would be a little more one-sided in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I think both teams are probably going to go 6, 7 man rotations. Like we're going to get a lot of the same guys on the court. May get some tired legs late
Hmm.
in this game. Clemson, as we mentioned, lost by double digits the first time they played. What has to happen for them? What has to change for them? How do they beat Louisville?
I honestly think they need to get more production out of their bigs. I know that Chase Hunter has been awesome, but what I think makes this Clemson team so hard to guard is when they play through Ian Shefflin, when they're letting him play, make reads for his teammates, when they're allowing or even scripting stuff for Victor Locken to step out and hit threes. Both of those guys had quiet games in the semifinals. I believe they said in that second half, like let me pull it up real quick. Ian Shefflin just went a long time without even really being involved. I know he scored on the opening possession of the game. Didn't hit another field goal again until 7 minutes to go in the second half. Like you can't have that type of performance again where Ian Shefflin just isn't involved because I think having those two versatile bigs, I mean that's your ticket to sustaining success. Pairing that with a dynamic guard like Chase Hunter, getting those two guys back involved, featuring them a little bit would be the key to beating a really good Louisville team.
No, what about Louisville? Because that first matchup, Javon Hadley went off for 32.
Hmm.
Be great if that happened again for the Cardinals. I don't think it will. So how do they get better with Clemson? What do they have to do?
Yeah, I think you lean on that perimeter trio with Hepburn, with Edwards, with Hadley. I don't think Hepburn and Edwards have to combine for 45 again, but you probably want all three of those guys to be in the 15-point range, or maybe if one of them gets hot, you ride the hot hand. Aside from that, like keep Clemson off the glass. That's a big one, which I know shouldn't really be an issue for a Pat Kelsey team. But I would just kind of expect after SMU hung in there with them, that'll be a point of emphasis for Brownell going into this game is getting back to some of their DNA to what made them successful this year with controlling the offensive glass. Yeah, that I think is going to be a very interesting like tactical battle with both of these teams really wanting to extend possessions by crashing the offensive boards and just like their history with that. But yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking of with Louisville is maintaining that good balance on the perimeter and making sure they don't let Clemson get back to what makes Clemson Clemson.
We expect this to be a close game. Ken Palm does as well. He's got Clemson winning 71 to 70. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I hope it's we've gotten a lot of one possession games in the ACC tournament. I don't really
Yeah.
have a reason to believe this one's going to be any different. Maybe this is the one where a team finally breaks 80 in regulation. Still has not happened, Ralph. 3 days into this tournament, every team's getting stuck on like 75, 76 points. I would love to see this one be an up and down affair where, because this game has it all. You have physical
Mhm.
bigs, you have teams that can guard, but you also have flamethrowers on both ends of the court. I mean, maybe Rain is healthy for this one. I don't know. I'm always kind of skeptical of like the quick turnaround if we see him, but I think that would add just a level of entertainment to this game. But even seeing someone like the Chase Hunter Chucky battle should be really entertaining. I expect Chucky to play way better than he did. I mean, he was 1 for 10 in the Yum Center. They still got that win. Like, bodes pretty favorably for Louisville's chances, I think. But yeah, I probably do lean Louisville in a close one just because I think they have the game already under their belt of, not having a huge rotation guy in Rain Smith, whereas Clemson might be on their heels a little bit, just figuring out life without Dylan Hunter.
I'm gonna go Louisville by 4 or 5. I think they're more explosive, and I think both these teams did not play their best. I think we'll see more of that. But Clemson's big struggling is a problem for me because Louisville's got the better guards.
Mhm.
Right, Clemson needs to dominate the front court, and if Locken and Shefflin are going to continue playing the way that they have, they're not going to dominate up front. And with Dylan Hunter likely being out, Clemson believes he broke his hand. At the time of this recording, it has not been confirmed yet what the injury is and how long he's out for. We're going to assume that he's out. Assume he's got a broken hand. Like shuffling that on the fly, I think is going to throw a wrench into some things for them. I trust Clemson to get it back right with a week, and then for the NCAA tournament. But in this game, where margins are very, very slim, I think that's enough for me to take the Cardinals.
With you on that.
We will see what happens, though. We'll have a full recap here on the channel after the game, along with a full recap of Duke UNC. Going to be a fun, fun Friday night in Charlotte.